Okay, so I'm going to try to show you how to prep an artichoke. I'm going to make it, and I don't know when the next time I'm going to make it is, so let's get this prepped. And we'll see how this video is. It might be upside down. It might be completely upside down. We'll see. All right. Okay, so you're going to want to have a pot of heavily salted water ready to go, and a sharp knife, a pair of scissors, lemon or a lemon squeezy, and some water that is large enough for you to dip your knife into. The reason is because artichokes oxidize pretty quickly, and it doesn't really affect their flavor, but it's a bummer, and it really doesn't look nice, and it happens, and it makes your artichoke not look nice. So lemon into the water like that, and then just put the lemon rind into your cooking water. Then you're going to take your artichoke, which is a thistle. In the thistle family, if it were to continue to grow in nature, then you would have a really pretty purple flower. In Montana, they just turn into deer food because the deer come into your yard and eat them. So we're cutting off all the tips as much as we can. Now I'm pretty sure I remember when I was younger that these, I think they've been bred to not have pokey tips when they're grown agriculturally, because when I was young, these had like cat claws coming out of them. They were out of the tips here, and now if you look, there actually isn't really anything pokey. It's pretty much, I think, just for looks now, which is why you want to do the lemon water, because the lemon water will keep everything from turning brown. So when you get to the bottom like this, if you have a pretty sharp knife, you can just cut the end off. The stem is edible, but usually the very top of it has dried out, so you want to cut the tip of that off like we did. And these top leaves, they're not going to have enough edible parts. You can just twist those off and get those out of the way. Help it cook quicker. Now, an artichoke at this point, you literally could just put this in the water and boil it for 45 minutes to something this big might almost take an hour. So you definitely could do that. But I like to prep it more for eating and cut the cook time down. So there's our prepped artichoke that could go into the water if we wanted to just cook it like that. Now, hopefully, our knife is going to be sharp enough to just cut through this. An artichoke doesn't bruise. You don't have to worry about that. All right, so there we have our artichoke cut in half. There's a little bit of work, but not too bad. These purple leaves here, they're not really edible, and what we're going to do to further prep this is we're going to cut out this choke part. These are where all the thistles are. I don't know if you can see that. Thistles. You don't want to eat those at all. So I'm going to put this into the water to keep it from turning while we work on this one. You see, even though we have prepped it, it's still turning brown. That's just going to happen. Two things I forgot to grab: a sharp knife as well as a spoon. If you can get one that has a somewhat thin bowl as opposed to like a thick soup spoon or something, that's a little bit better. So we're going to go ahead and just start here where the edge of the choke starts. And cut down. You can feel if you're cutting flesh versus if you're cutting choke. You can feel a difference because this is a raw vegetable. So should be able to just push in now, get most of that out. Rinse off your spoon. I try not to put it on my cutting board. So you can kind of grab those unedible leaves at this point if you've done a pretty good job trimming it, and just go ahead and get those pulled out. But you don't want to get too many of the edible leaves. You don't want to sacrifice too many edible leaves for that choke. But if you look here, I'm not sure what you can see because I can't see what you can see. But this is a very, very clean artichoke. There's no thistle left at all. Everything here, all the leaves here and everything will be edible, and this is going to cook so much faster than a full-size artichoke. It's all going to be nice and soft. So we'll get that put into the water. Okay, let's rinse off our board and everything real quick. All right, get our utensils all rinsed off. Scissors can go. All right. So we have our workspace all set to do the next one, which is going to be 100% the same. So if you feel confident that you got it, you don't really have to watch the next part because it's the same. So here's our non-prepped artichoke versus our prepped artichoke. Those leaves are like, yeah, we're good. So that's what we're going to take out. Again, take our knife. A little more lemon juice on this. Try to get that from oxidizing while we work on it. Take our knife just a tiny bit before the choke starts. The choke starts here, so we're going to put it in about there. Press down about a ½ inch. Just trace that choke line. All the way through the flesh. It does help a lot if you anchor it down. And then you push your spoon in. Okay, and wedge it up. Okay, we're going to put that in the garbage. So just so you see, it's not like I'm doing this in one smooth motion and getting the whole choke out all at once, although that can happen sometimes. But, you know, we get those. Ooh, that was a little far. Okay. I think I put the spoon in a little far because I'm getting quite a few edible leaves pulled out. We don't want that, so try to leave them in on that side. Rinse that off. Put all the little thistly parts off out of the water, and I'm going to leave that. I don't want to clean that up anymore because I don't want any more leaves gone. So there's might be like a tiny little bit of fluff here. Purple leaves, and there's nothing wrong with the purple. It's not as if this is bad or bad for you. There's just not any flesh on the inside of this. On the inside of this purple leaf, there's nothing really to sink your teeth into there. So might as well just get them out of the way and speed up cooking time and have less waste on your plate, as opposed to, you know, having that on there, taking up space, taking up time. So right into the water it goes. That lemon rind, and I started off hot with heavily salted water. Started off with hot, heavily salted water, so that'll have a head start. One thing about artichokes is that they float, so if you have something you can use to keep them from floating, like a metal or a silicone steamer basket, you can flip that open upside down and put it down on there. My parents have a rock that they use for that. Actually, I have a rock. A little bit of a rock on top of there. That rock's like, no, I'm not heavy enough. We'll figure something out. You don't want to cover it all the way. You always want to leave a little bit of air because if artichokes just steam and they don't have any air at all, they can turn brown. Again, just a thing. So there you go. One artichoke prepped. That'll feed 2 people, especially because it was so big, and everything will be edible. There you go. That's how to prep an artichoke. We'll see how that goes.